fire.
It's not my hair.
Tonight, a free bootable Windows CD, meet Bart P.E. And Stanford Law Professor Larry Lessig's got some free science libraries to share. Plus, brag yourself a screensaver. It's time for our LAN party. Live from the Tech TV studios in San Francisco, it's the Screensavers.
Screensavers. I'm Kevin Rose.
And I'm Patrick Norton. Thanks for joining us on the Screensavers. This is the only place on TV where we'll give you live product demos. We'll crash them on air for you. We'll slag on products we despise. And we're dumb enough to answer your questions on air with no outside help.
Tonight we have a great show. Forget about those old DOS boot discs. Do you remember making the boot disc? Little 3.5s? We have a bootable version, a live bootable version of Windows right on a CD.
Windows XP.
XP.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to show you that up a little later in
That's
the show.
official looking.
Yeah, well, you know, I marketed it up myself.
That's right.
This is why they don't allow me to write normally. What are you up to the show? Sarah, what are you doing today? What's going on?
You know how everybody wants to change the text on the start button? We've done this before on the show, but I've taken it a couple steps further. It's a hack for all seasons, all for your start button. It couldn't be more fun, and I'm bringing it to you later in the show.
She's been messing with Resource Hacker again, I have a feeling.
Why am I suddenly afraid? I would explain the start button on the, well, you'll see it later on. Today's Thursday time with the Screensavers LAN Party, which is
powered by NVIDIA.
And now that we've upgraded our LAN Party machines, we're giving the old ones away, right,
That's
Joshua?
right. Every last one of them. We'll announce last week's winner next week, and that leaves us with 3 systems. Courtesy of AMD, we're personalizing and giving away one of our Falcon LAN Party machines every week for 4 weeks. They've got XP 3000 CPUs, GeForce FX 5900 Ultras, a gig of RAM, 160 gigabytes of RAID storage, no less, and more. Ooh. If you registered for today's LAN Party, you've already been entered to win once, and later in the show, I personally will give out a code word to take back to the website and enter a second time for a second chance to win. Ooh. This is our last week, however. Some sad news. Last week of Battlefield Vietnam for a while. We'll come back to it. So whether you're fighting for the NVA or the United States, make sure to choose your weapons wisely. It's your last chance to frag a screensaver in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. It is. We do have a special guest in our LAN Party today. The lead producer of Battlefield Vietnam, Reed Schneider, is here. So anybody, if you hate or love the game, now's your chance to kill him. Next down the line, we have Dan 12 Buckle My Foo Heward. He has our Rackspace servers fired up, ready to go. We also have a member of the audience, Chris from Paso Robles, California. He's in there. I will be in there as well. Back to you guys.
Awesome.
Outstanding.
It's cool now because they have headphones now. Did you see that? We haven't had headphones in the past. It's something you just added, Joshua, right?
These are Dolby. They're not Dolby Digital. Sorry, these are digital surround sound
These are semi-surround sound.
Semi-surround sound. We just plugged them in the first time today, so we're still playing with them.
You realize that this eliminates one more thing you can use as an excuse for why you're not winning.
Exactly.
Because you can't
I'll just keep my headphones on and pretend I can't hear you.
Start with the tech news that caught our eye today. Sarah, what you got for us?
Well, first I have an update to a story we reported on Tuesday in regards to the planned Netski Q-Worms distributed denial of service attack on file sharing sites. Its two main targets, of course, were Kazaa and eDonkey. The attack went as planned yesterday, and today Kazaa survived, but eDonkey has been knocked offline. But not to worry, you could still access eDonkey's service at other eDonkey's addresses because the worm only attacks the main eDonkey site. There's a donkey in the room.
Miffed.
Well, they're taking down other sites, too. The denial service was not just for the...
It wasn't actually for the peer-to-peer networks that they were trading, but for the actual websites for the people.
I don't think they can take down the actual peer-to-peer networks because it's not one centralized server that you connect to. Especially with eDonkey, there's like 30 or 40 different servers that you can potentially connect to get online. So they would have to target all those, and those are always changing. But they did take down some other sites. They took down some crack sites.
So what's a crack site?
A crack site is where you go to download cracks.
Where?
Well, no, it's like if you don't pay for software and you're illegal and you're underground and you download something and you want a serial number, or you go to and download a crack, or you want to, well, that's a serial number generator. A crack is really getting around some type of form of copy protection. But yeah, they're taking those down. I'm wondering, is this something that maybe Microsoft or another company might have put these guys up to that released this
Or
hack?
maybe it was somebody who spent like 9 years of their life coding a piece of software that found cracks for it all over the web and
that could
decided
be.
to take matters into their own hands.
Interesting.
We'll find out. Speaking of interesting and scary
Speaking of interesting and scary, Intego, maker of Macintosh security software, is reporting the first Mac OS X Trojan horse. No, you are not safe, Mac people. Known as MP3 Concept or MP3virus.gen. The virus exploits a weakness in Mac OS X where applications can appear to be other types of files, such as MP3s or JPEGs. So sneaky. The virus deletes files and can spread to other MP3s, JPEGs, GIFs, QuickTime movies, the whole nine. Not good.
Yeah.
This is a sneaky little
Welcome
virus.
to our world, Mac.
Well, here's the thing, though, right? And a lot of people are like, OS X sucks just as much as Windows, and it's like, no, this is the first Trojan ever. It's one of the only exploits. It hasn't been released in the wild. It came from a research site of enthusiasts who were looking for more holes to plug in.
They were embedding
OS X.
They were embedding the virus inside of ID3 tags, which aren't supposed to be executed.
Right. Well,
that information is just for artists and track information.
Right. In theory, I guess they're creating it. I've read two versions of it. I can't read the code because I'm not smart enough, but I've heard two versions of it, that it creates an executable that hides itself as an MP3 file so that when it gets double-clicked on or run, it goes, or that the code actually runs when it gets inside of certain applications in your system. Some people are postulating that QuickTime could be the Internet Explorer of OS X because it's not quite as secure as they'd like and it's not as open as they like. The flip side, you know what, this is a security company looking at an obscure research website who wants to sell $65 antivirus scanning software for an operating system with, what is this, the second security notice we've had on OS X in 3 years?
Yeah, I was going to say that...
2 years? How long has OS X been out?
OS X has been out for about 3 years now, somewhere around there. I was going to say, most of my friends that run Macs, they don't have antivirus software installed. Right. They hardly even have a firewall because they use the built-in one that it's built into OS X. Right. And it's like, this is the first time we're seeing, I think Norton's going to start, selling tons of copies of their antivirus software.
Do they even make antivirus?
Yeah, they do, indeed, I believe.
It's interesting. It could be the beginning of a flood. I doubt it, but I'm sure Intego is selling a lot of software today. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Good stuff. Now, should we get serious for a second? Before we get to our first caller, Adrian Lamo, also known as the homeless hacker, he's been on the screensavers a bunch of times, is in the news again. We reported back in January that he turned himself into the feds and pleaded guilty to a single count of computer damage. Today he's back in court for his sentencing hearing, and we're going to find out...
We should find out soon. I mean, within the next couple hours, what whether he's going to do some jail time or is it going to be all home. At first, they were saying he's probably going to have to be confined to his house with one of those little ankle bracelets that tracks that you don't actually leave your home for a couple years.
Now, and we should also point out, for those of you who aren't familiar with this story, Adrian is essentially a kid who went around, hacked into large, giant systems, and went to the companies that hosted them and pointed out a lot of, in many cases, basic and fundamentally embarrassing flaws in their security and told them how to fix them and help them fix them in most cases. New York Times was the only people who got really upset and decided to press charges.
Yeah, there was a handful of companies that says, thank you, Adrian, we appreciate you bringing this information. It's saving us from getting actually hacked by a real hacker that wants to cause damage.
Right.
And in this case, the New York Times was a little upset about that and decided to take him to court. So
we're a little upset with the New York Times, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Yes.
Anyhow, good luck, Adrian. Hope you're not going to prison.
Yes.
Katrina joins us on the phone from Trinity, Texas.
Hey, Katrina.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, not a problem.
Our pleasure. How can we help you today?
Well, I have a question. I need some advice from you. I have an HP, a compact laptop that recently broke. I sent it in for repair with the warranty, and the repair was way beyond what they wanted to do. So they're going to replace it with a new computer. Sounds great. It has all the bells and whistles my old one did. It even has twice the hard drive.
Cool.
But it was a Pentium 3, and they want to replace it with a Celeron.
Oh, which Celeron?
I don't know exactly. He said it was a 2-point something. It's faster than the Pentium 3 I had.
You're actually, are you worried because back in the day Celerons had really atrocious performance?
Well, that, and I've always heard the Pentiums are better and they cost more.
Well, here's the thing is you've got sort of a Pentium 3 And Celeron's, they haven't changed the name, but you've gone from Pentium 3 to Pentium 4 to Pentium M. You know, there's been a huge evolution on the mobile processor side. And the Celeron, they've kind of kept it the same Celeron name, but you're talking about, you should see a huge leap in performance over the Pentium 3 with a clock speed like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, not only is you getting a faster CPU, but you'll be getting a different type of RAM most likely, a faster
Probably
system
faster
bus,
RAM.
a better video card most likely. I mean, when you get a new computer, 9 times out of 10, especially if it's a couple years old, no matter what it is, even if it's a bare minimum, it's going to be better than what you had in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, notebooks don't age well.
No.
There wasn't that much in the way of low-cost processor options probably when that Pentium 3 system was sold out. That may have been their low-cost versus some of the other mobile processors that are out there. And what's funny is you basically caught on with most major fixes, especially on notebooks. They don't fix your system. They take yours, they throw it into a pile for recycling, and they grab a new one out of a box and they send it to you. So
That's a great deal.
Yeah, it's you know, unless you had painted or had some kind of intense emotional attachment to the old system. I think you probably got a pretty good deal here. Did you have an extended warranty, or was this part of the? How many years of warranty did you buy?
5 years.
Wow.
And I'm 2 years into it, and this warranty is going to cover the new one also.
You know what? You did a nice little crapshoot, and you just made bank, Katrina.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Great. So I got a good deal.
You got a great deal.
Thank you.
And then wait a few more years, break this one, you get another one.
Yeah. Sounds good to us. Just see if you can get another 5-year warranty. Yeah, normally we're not big on
You
warranties.
could just keep
but that's
going and
awesome.
going and going. That would be awesome.
Katrina, you've inspired us. This could be a dark tip. Good call. We're just getting started. Sarah helps you change the start button to say any word you like, and after the break, we're going to show you how to create a free Windows boot CD for Windows XP in 2000. Coming up when the screensavers continue. Want a bootable CD you can use to fire up Windows even if your hard drive is fried, you're testing out a system, you want to use something a little more stable? We actually have it, your own CD you can create for nothing. A bootable Windows XP. No DOS, no bad Windows 3.1, no weird actually some weird third-party software. Check this out. BART PE.
Is the name of the app.
That's the name of the app. It's based on the Windows Microsoft pre-install environment, and what we have here is actually running. It's very similar to Knoppix STD, and FLAC is the other one.
Yeah, you just put it in and you boot, and it comes right up, just like it would Windows, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty basic idea. Basically, you can add different items onto this by doing plugins when you create the ISO. We'll talk about that in a second, but the idea is you create a bootable Windows. I'm not entirely sure why I'm in this command environment here, but I'm feeling very excited about it. I think I'm going to look and see if we actually configured the networking on this. You can configure networking on it. You can search. And did we launch it? Let's flip over to the other one. Yes, we're launching. We're even connected to the internet. Let's go back and talk about this, though. The idea, though, is
show me how you created it.
Have you ever seen a bootable? Everybody knows about a Windows install CD, right? But this is the idea. You have a CDR. It's prepared in an emergency. It gives you some tools to use.
Right. I've never seen. This is the first time. In fact, I've never done this before. You're teaching me something here today.
We found we found a nice guy named Bart. Bart lives in the Netherlands. Bart likes to code. Bart has some free time. So if you go to nu2.nu and go to PE Builder, it creates, again, using that Microsoft Windows, the pre-install environment. And what it does is allow you download his PE Builder software, and you can also download, I'm going to scroll down here and try not to make anybody sick in the audience, plugins. And the plugins basically allow you to add in additional functionalities. So,
so you don't download plugins after you launch the CD. You do this prior to setting it up.
Exactly. You do so. Let's actually skip forward, close all tabs, and whoops. That's Sarah's demo. We've got multiple demos going on in this system. We'll relaunch the PE Builder. I always get afraid to close anyone else's demos.
Just close away.
It's okay. We're good. So we're going to actually go through the manual build here, and we're going to PE Builder. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to need a Windows install disk, right? A regular Windows XP install disk. So let's go ahead and click that.
Okay, so hold on one sec. You just launched the application, and you just chose the D drive as the location of your Windows install disk.
You'd have to choose. On your system, that could be the E, F, G, the C, any else. Got like 90 seconds left. We'll crank through, and then you go through and you can pick different plugins. And let's see what else we have in here. If you need ASCII drivers, if AdWare 6 is installed. In some cases, you have to download and install software on the system you're building or have it available for this. And what's really cool, if you go to,
So it pulls the software that it needs from your system that's already been pre-installed. So in this case, if you wanted Adaware included on your distro, on your bootable disk, you would then install Adaware first on the machine, and it would pull the files from
it actually varies on system to system. We had another one. Let me call this up. There's actually a really good website, CD911, Rescue CD, CD911.net, it should be. No, you know what, that's up in the show notes. But you can actually download additional plugins, and what that does is allow you to add additional features. This creates an ISO disk. Once you go through, burn it to the ISO disk, and what you end up with is your bootable CDR.
Okay.
And that adds all of the features on there that you've chosen to select. We have a pretty stripped down one here, so it would boot really fast. But the idea, and if you go to the CD911 site, they have tons and tons, I think like 235 different plugins you can use if you want to load different applications, if there's different resources you want to utilities. The idea is that you can create like you would do with an old DOS rescue disk. In this case, it's Windows XP.
Right.
It can read the NTFS file partitions.
That's the cool thing.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because if your hard drive or your system gets hosed and you want to go back in and get your, crucial information, your My Documents, things like that, most likely you're going to be on an NTFS partition, and you can't read those with a DOS boot disk. It's not going to allow you to get to those files. In this case, it will.
In theory, you could spend $300. You can download an additional application that sits on top of DOS and allows you to translate it to NTFS. I say go for Part P. It's free. It's an easy download. It's easy to set up. We got all the links and the information on this up at thescreensavers.com.
Free is good.
We like free.
Yes, indeed. Now, here is Sarah with a quick little tip.
I love free over $300 programs any day.
Yeah.
Works for me. Also free. If you want to recover lost passwords, speed up your internet connection, customize Windows with a hack or two, I know you do. And these were some of our most requested Screensavers web articles from last month. Now they're all in one beautiful place at thescreensavers.com. Just scroll down on the main page here until you see Top 20 Stories of March 2004. Check them out, get the info, and thank me later. Now, still to come, get inside tips from the creator of today's LAN party game, Battlefield Vietnam. And up next, I've hacked my start button. It's all crazy. You can too. I'll show you how. On the Screensavers continue.
Ed joins us on the phone from Nicholasville, Kentucky. How you doing, Ed?
Hey, Ed.
How you doing?
Good. And yourself?
I'm great.
You have an interesting problem for us.
Yeah, actually I do. I have a small wood shop, and I have a computer in the corner. Now, the computer is idle most of the time, and it's with all wood shops, there's always a very small amount of fine sawdust floating in the air.
Well, you have an unusual wood shop, because most of the ones I've worked in had a lot of dust floating in the air.
Well, I've got one of those filters that collects it out of the air, but there's still an amount that floats in the air.
Yeah.
My question is there any way, or is there any device that will slow down or stop the power supply fan that would re-energize it when I touch the mouse?
There's some software you can use to do that. There's some manual tricks you can use to turn the fan down. But have you thought about just putting a filter on it?
Well, actually I do, but I still get that really face powder type dust in there.
What are you using for a filter on that, Ed?
Actually I have two filters. I have an aftermarket filter that I bought, and then I've got one that I made.
Really? What'd you make your filter out of? Like sponge or
foam
foam?
mat.
You know what Yoshi was telling us before? The ultimate stop all, even the tiniest pieces of cat hair and dander filter would be pantyhose. Stretching pantyhose across the back of that fan.
Really?
I can see Yoshi's nodding in the background. He's like, oh yeah, it's all about the pantyhose.
Hey, Ed.
Yeah.
Ed, I also want to let you know that there is another solution for you. I just saw this in Maximum PC 2 months ago. They had an issue. There is a new fanless power supply.
Fanless power supply.
It's a 350 and a 400-watt power supply. They have no fans in them whatsoever. It just has a big heat sink all going around the outside of it. In fact, Maximum PC gave it a really high rating. They said it was a great power supply.
Is that the only fan in your PC, Ed, the one that's in the power supply?
As far as I know it is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would work out for you. I don't have the actual link to the product right here. I believe it's called Silent Max, is what I've heard with Silent MAXX, I believe is the name of the power supply. I will do some research, and we can put a link to that in the show notes. But I did see it in that magazine. I was thumbing through.
Yoshi, how would you attach that? How would you recommend attaching the pantyhose solution?
Well, that's something you're gonna have to engineer for yourself. But I'd recommend maybe stretching it across with some nice gaffer's tape, or if you're gonna be real slick, some epoxy and glue it with a little ring around there or something. It works. I've used it on velocity stacks on motorcycles, so It works.
So we got $3 pantyhose versus a $85 to $300 power supply.
It was a little more expensive. The power supply is going to cost you, I believe it was around $100 and some odd dollars because, cutting edge technology, bleeding edge, they're always going to charge you a little more for it. But if you want something that, that's pretty cool. I like it.
Pantyhose, new power supply. You make the call. Try them both.
Thanks for the call, Ed. Now here is the P-tip with a quick Windows tweak.
I was sort of half expecting Yoshi to break into song. It's like he's got like a karaoke thing back there with a microphone. Woo!
Go, Yoshi.
Okay, moving along. No respectable Windows tweaker is complete without a thorough Windows Start button hack, right? I mean thorough. Start text, the text that happens when you mouse over the Start menu itself that says click here to begin, and of course that Windows icon. Nobody likes that. Let's change them all. First of all, I just want to show you what I did on my Windows Start button. If we get in close here, down in the left-hand corner, it doesn't say, let's see if we can get in a little closer perhaps. Okay, yes, it doesn't say Start, it says Princess, and it's got a nice little picture of me that my buddy Frank made a long time ago, and if you hover over it, it says, touch any of my settings and you're toast, man, because I have to say things like that at work, because the boys will...
Oh, that's going to stop me right there.
Oh, yeah.
That'll stop me dead in my tracks.
I got to do what I can. They don't listen, but I try, right? Okay, so what you need to do is, first of all, download Resource Hacker. It's a great tool. Every tweaker must have it, and I want you to open explorer.exe. That's in... root Windows, everybody has it. It's very important though, so before you begin, please back it up. Just call it something else, BAK, whatever you want to do. Make sure that you have a copy of that before you start, because if you mess up, you're completely screwed. Once you have it open in Resource Hacker, I want you to expand String Table, and I want you to look for folder number 37. Open it up, click on the resource. You see a bunch of text here. You can see where I've written in Princess. That used to say Start. Make it whatever you want. Kevin is a nerd. Something like that. Whatever you want to say, you can say. But remember, this is going to be on your taskbar, so you don't want it to be that long. So don't make it too long, or you're gonna waste some space. When you're done, you want to hit the button up on the top here that says Compile Script. That'll basically update what you've made your changes in. Now I just want you to open folder 34. Click on the resource there. And you just want to find where it says Click here to begin. I've changed it to Touch any of my settings and your toast, man. And once you're done with that, I want you to go up to the bitmap folder here on the left, expand that, and here under folder 143, you can see where I've added my icon. The way that I did that, this used to be that very classic default Start. I'm sorry, not Start, Windows icon, the one that we like so much. I want you to just go to Action, Replace Bitmap, and at that point, you see my little icon, you say Open File with New Bitmap. You can choose at that point any bitmap of your choice. It needs to be 25 by 20 pixels. I have my bitmap that I'm using right now in my article. If for some reason you want the same one, when you're done with that, add it in, you click Replace. That's all you have to do. At this point, it's very simple. You can't really replace the explorer.exe file while you're in it because it's being used. So you have to restart in safe mode with command prompt, overwrite your original file with your new file. So once you make all these changes, create a new file and call it something besides explorer.exe in your Windows folder, overwrite that, restart, and you're done. It'll be there clear as day. I have very clear instructions in my Windows Tweak article, if I wasn't quite as clear just now, at thescreensavers.com, on how to change start text, hover text, start button icon, all in one fell swoop. You can do it in 5 minutes. It's an XP tweak also. But I also have a link in my article for older versions of Windows. You folks aren't left out. Got something for everybody today. That's it for me. Back to you guys.
That's pretty hardcore.
This is a woman that loves modifying the Start button.
Yes.
Can we get a round of applause for modifying the Start button? There we go. Yeah! Don't go anywhere. Learn how you can get free scientific documents that have never been available before. And after the break, we'll talk to the creator of Battlefield Vietnam and get some secret tips, which Brentano needs. Yeah. Coming up when the Screensavers continue.
Welcome back to the Screensavers. I'm Kevin Rose.
And I'm Patrick Norton. Coming up in this half hour, are big companies controlling creativity? I got to talk to Stanford Law Professor Larry Lessig about what's going on with copyright. Plus, we're going to talk to Devin. He's on the line, going to ask us about iPod game development. Can he get any games to put on his? I guess Breakout's not there.
Yeah, he wants to find. Well, there's a couple of them that come with the new iPods now. We'll show you that a little bit later, though. But now, Today is Thursday. It's time for our LAN party check-in.
Yes, and if you remember, we are giving away our Falcon LAN party machines, our old LAN party machines, our slow Athlon XP 3000 machines.
Those old ones.
I know. Well, they were old. We had to upgrade to something fast so that we could play the games. So today's code word is, if you take this back to the website, is headset. Everybody remember that? Headset. Take that back to the website, techtv.com/LAN party, and enter that code for your second chance to win. You have until 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday to win machine number 2, and we'll announce the winners next week. Now back to our LAN party game, Battlefield Vietnam. Our special guest today in our LAN party is the producer of Battlefield Vietnam, Reed Schneider. Reed, thanks for being here.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
How did you get involved in this game?
We actually, after 1942, it was just a huge success for EA, so we knew that we wanted to take this game into the more modern combat. And there was really no better theater for that than to bring it into Vietnam. Modern weapons, cool music.
Now, this is a little bit different. It's a different kind of game. I think it's more arcadey kind of. You have to play as a team as opposed to for 1941, you could kind of do whatever you wanted.
Yeah, there's definitely the team play aspect we've really played up in this game. We really want people to work together. Overall, it's just a better experience. It's also, if you think about Vietnam, it's jungles, it's more close combat, so the nature of the play changes completely. You really got to work together. It's closer battles. The fighting's tighter, so that's what we wanted.
Now, are there any parts of Battlefield 1942 still left in this game, or did you redo it completely?
Well, we rewrote the whole render of the game, so the whole look is different. It's a full DX9 game. It's all new content completely. It's all new sound engine as well. We left the network code and we left the physics code as well.
That's it. That's all that's left.
That's all that's left. Other than that, it's all new.
Now, you mentioned look and feel, and this is one big criticism I think a lot of people have, is this game, a lot of people say, that doesn't look like Vietnam, that looks like the trees in the backwoods in Connecticut, or that it doesn't look like people think it should.
Right. Well, that's really, our goal with this was really to build the Hollywood depiction of what Vietnam looks like.
Okay.
So, what Vietnam really looks like, we researched it, and the reality is if you look at Platoon, Apocalypse Now, We Were Soldiers, these are great movies, and so that's what people's vision of Vietnam is. So that's really what we wanted to build into the game.
And the music is the other cool thing about this, but I noticed there's no Jimi Hendrix.
No, unfortunately, we got a great soundtrack for this game, but unfortunately, the Jimi Hendrix estate just didn't want to be associated with a first-person shooter, so.
Well, I'm going to get back to play. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for stopping by. Play. Well, if anybody is out there playing be sure to jump in and try to kill Reed as your last chance to wreak any kind of vengeance that you may need. Secondly, down the line we do have Dan 1-2 Buckle My Foo Heward. So he is still in there playing as well. He can't hear me because he's playing with headphones.
I'm playing.
Yes, I know.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, let's play.
Okay. Woo! Go back and play. Dan is it's like he's 6 years old. And then next down the line we do have Chris from our audience from Paso Robles. Chris is in there as well. Woo-hoo! Try and beat him if you can. I can't beat him, but I'm getting worse at these games. It must be in my old age. So back to you guys. Yeah.
Poor Ventano.
I know.
That means he'll switch it to another game that he can stomp us all at next. Stay where you are. Next caller wants a scoop on the future iPod games. And after the break, free scientific journals, Creative Commons, and more with Stanford Law Professor Larry Lessig when the Screensavers continue.
Let's check in with the fine folks over at Tech Live to see what's coming up tonight. Chris Leary joins us from the Tech Live set.
How's it going, boys?
Hey, Chris.
It's crazy. I'm kind of guilty of this myself, but have you guys ever dozed off behind the wheel or even gotten close?
Little bit.
Yeah,
little bit.
Once. That's a
little bit of drinking.
No, not even drinking. Sometimes you're just, so tired after working and entertaining us all day. Well, listen to this. Tonight on Tech Live, we're going to show you some in-car devices that can actually help you stay awake. But more importantly, stay alive. But you're still going to be entertaining no matter what this thing does. So what we want to do is get you to stay tuned. It's coming up right after the Screensavers. Gentlemen, now back to you.
Does that shock you, or what does it do to keep you awake?
Well, you're going to have to watch Tech Live right after the show to find out.
There's a big fist that comes out and goes... That's one of the things, there's more later.
You can wear the serious blazer, but deep down inside, you're still.
This thing is bright blue. This is serious?
Well,
Come on.
for us. Good stuff, Chris. Thank you very much.
Guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tech Live coming up after the Screensavers. Our next guest is a regular visitor to the TSS set, a professor at Stanford Law School, member of the board of the EFF, chairs Creative Commons, and in his free time is helping to define the future of copyright and intellectual property in the United States. I had a chance to talk to him a few days ago about the Public Library's Science, a new project Larry Lessig's working on. Along with everything else, you're on the board of the Public Library of Science.
That's right.
Now, this is essentially an online gathering place for scientists to publish.
Well, the idea was to try to make sure that science would be available to everybody around the world equally and freely, but to still keep the high standards that are necessary for publishing scientific articles. So the Public Library of Science produces regular journals that are peer-reviewed, right now in the area of biology, soon will be in the area of medicine. But these journals are also produced with a electronic version that's licensed under a Creative Commons license that guarantees free distribution forever all around the world.
I'm thinking this is probably not for your sixth grader. This is something for people doing academic studies, publishing.
It's for real scientists. Although, of course, many people who, for example, find themselves or their family afflicted with diseases, cancer, have a strong desire to be able to get access to this information, but increasingly libraries are restricting access because the cost of these journals is skyrocketing and fewer libraries can carry them. So science now is the privilege of the most elite American universities, and much of this knowledge is not available anywhere in the world.
And why is this knowledge so contained? Why is it so? I'm thinking it's scientists. Everybody has access to it. There's got to be apparently there doesn't got to be a website for it.
There isn't a website for a lot of it, and that's because it's published by a smaller and smaller set of publishers. There's basically two major publishers right now, and these publishers are increasingly raising the cost of the subscriptions, and so fewer and fewer libraries can carry it. Now, some people think, evil publishers, let's try to destroy the publishers. I don't have any beef with the publishers. They're a business. They're trying to make money like anybody else. But the point is, scientists have a moral obligation, I think, an ethical obligation to their profession to make their knowledge available as widely as possible. So we're trying to build an easy way for them to do that, to guarantee that their knowledge is available around the world while maintaining the high standards required.
Does this put them, if they enter a study or research on the Public Library of Science, will this put them, are they going to end up with difficulties with existing publishers? Do universities have ties to some of the existing publishers, or how easy would it be?
It would be really hard for the existing publishers to try to retaliate. Then they might be talking to American antitrust regulators if they did something like that.
Always a fun gig.
It's not always a fun gig, right? But I think the really hard question will be for some young scientists to decide whether they can publish in a relatively unknown journal instead of publishing in the major journals. And it'll be important for academic institutions to begin to recognize this as a legitimate form of publication. But we've been extremely lucky with our initial issues to have some of the best science possible being published in these journals, and so there's no doubt that we have exactly the kind of quality that these journals require.
Outstanding. Now, you actually have a new book out.
Right.
Is Free Culture.
Right.
What's free culture all about?
Well, as we've talked about on this show over and over and over again, there's this extraordinary war going on out there, the copyright wars, what Jack Valenti calls his own terrorist war, where our kids are the terrorists. Not mine yet, 6-month-old. He's not yet.
Give him a year or two.
Yeah, that's right. But so this book is about the consequences of that war for culture and the ability of people to remix and remake culture. I mean, here, on the one hand, we have an explosion of technologies that are giving a wide range of people the opportunity to become creators in ways we'd never even imagined, through the mixing and mashing of music, creating video clips, doing all sorts of stuff.
Re-editing their favorite movies.
Exactly right.
Taking the scenes out they want, or adding in deleted scenes.
Right, or mixing them into their own shows. Doing all this creative work on the one hand. But on the other hand, because of this war on copyright, the regulation of that behavior has increased dramatically. And the story I tell in my book is that, for 190 years of our history, copyright was a totally sane regulation of the creative process. In the last 30 years, it has become an insane, radically transformed regulation of creative process.
When you say it's because fewer and fewer are actually, unless people are entering them into public domain themselves, nothing's entering into public domain.
That's exactly right, for two very important reasons. One, in 1976, Congress changed the law to say automatically everything gets a copyright for the full term, whereas before you had to kind of wave your hand and say, I want copyright protection, and you had to renew the copyright after a limited time. So that means everything is protected by copyright. And the second part is that Congress continually extends the term of existing copyright. So I had a famous defeat in the Supreme Court when we were trying to challenge the last extension, the Sonny Bono Copyright Term Extension Act, which extended terms by 20 years. But what this means is there's less and less that people can build upon without hiring a lawyer.
What about something like the Gray album, where somebody who obviously knows the rules of their industry, a music producer, goes out, they take a rap artist, they take the Beatles, they mix them together, they distribute it, a few thousand copies commercially. Shouldn't people have to ask before they take other people's work or reuse them?
Well, this is a really controversial area. What DJ Danger Mouse believes, and I think a lot of people agree with him, and I agree with him in some sense too, this new technology makes it possible for us to create a kind of remix art form that hasn't really been possible before, and the law ought to allow you to do that. But even if you don't believe that, even if you believe that the artist should be allowed to say who gets to remix his or her work, what's clear is at least the artist should have the right to choose who gets to remix.
This is where Creative Commons comes in.
Yes, exactly right. Because we've been trying to promote a license we call the MASH license, where an artist gets to say, you're allowed to take my work, you're allowed to remix my work, even for commercial purposes. You're just not allowed to make a verbatim copy of my work, because I want to be able to sell my songs. But what we found is when artists have decided they want to release their content under this,
the labels
have said absolutely no. So, if you believe in artists being able to experiment with this new technology, at least you ought to believe that people ought to have the right to choose to engage in this kind of creativity.
Which is something you've really stepped up and done. There's under the Creative Commons license, you've made your book available for free for distribution on the web, and I guess there's audiobook translations of it. It's on a half dozen different reader platforms.
Right. I was astonished by this. I convinced my publisher, Penguin Press, to allow this experiment where my book is available free online under a Creative Commons license on the Amazon page. You can download it or you can buy it.
You got a new kid. Is it hurting sales? Are you worried about this?
Well, every once in a while I worry a bit about it. But what we found is that an extraordinary number of people download the book. Within 24 hours, there were 9 different formats available for people. Within 36 hours, somebody had the great idea of creating a kind of community audio version of the book. So Akma, on his blog, suggests this. All the chapters are now claimed. Half the chapters have been produced. And then within 3 days, a guy named Aaron Swartz had put together a wiki of the book. So the whole book is up there in a wiki, and you can go and you can change the book, or you can update the book, or criticize the book however you want. And the point was, all of this activity around the book spreads the ideas of the book much more quickly and broadly than they would ever be spread before, and engages the community about the ideas. And that's, really all I care about. My publisher hopes more
your
people
primary
will buy it.
concern isn't to make profits, but to actually spread a mindset or a set of ideas.
Yeah, my son would be really better off if I could make some profits off of it. But the really important thing is to spread the ideas. But Penguin is in it to make money. What they've done is they've signaled, as a couple other publishers have before, Tor Press with Cory Doctorow's book is the biggest example, that they're going to experiment with this to see whether in fact it drives sales. And it's pretty obvious, at least right now, the technologies for reading books online, that most people would rather buy a book than to read it online. So if you can give it away and they get access to it and they begin to read it and they like it,
they'll probably turn around and buy it. Links to the new book, The Free Public Library of Science, and an online version of the interview and the book. You can find it all at thescreensavers.com. It's amazing how much the journals cost. I think $23,000, $25,000 a year for the most expensive ones. Ooh. That's why they're going open source with them.
A little pricey. Now, come up after the break. Devin joins us via Netcam, and he's wondering how he can install some new games into his iPod. We'll show him how right after these messages.
Be sure to get tomorrow's show. Get your questions ready. It's an all-call Friday where, we're ready to answer your toughest computer questions. It got quiet all of a sudden. It's all on tomorrow's show. So remember to give us a call an hour before the show. That's your best chance of getting your call on the show.
Devin joins us on the Tech TV Netcam network from Lynchburg, Virginia.
Hey, Devin.
Hey, Devin.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good. How you doing?
All right. I'm a big fan of the show.
Thank you.
Cool.
Basically, my question was, are there any communities online that are developing games on the iPod?
What kind of games do you want? I mean, you've probably played Breakout until you're pretty much ready to cry at this point, right, Devin?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm mainly like sort of games like that, like Pong or Tetris or something like that, because I know it has a whole lot of potential for it.
Yeah, here's one of the new iPods, and actually one of the new iPods come with quite a few games. Well, not quite a few, just 4 of them. Here's Parachute, one of my favorites.
I like that one too.
Yeah, the iPod games they're fun, but not a whole lot going on here. We got like a 32 by there's not a big.
It's a very arcade game, circa 78 to 82.
But not to say they can't make some cool games.
Why hasn't anybody released? You'd think they've released software, they've tweaked the operating system inside there. Why no games?
Well, I think the problem is that I haven't seen, unless somewhere it's hidden in the Apple side, that there's an SDK, a software developer's kit for the iPod.
Okay.
That's very important. When you see all different types of devices come out, whether they're handhelds or no matter what they are, the companies that put out the devices normally give programmers a software developer's kit, kind of gives them the framework. A set of tools to work with to build applications for that particular type of device. This is their own little proprietary OS that's running on here. I can't remember the exact name of the OS. But
that's a whole other story. They bought a lot of that from other people.
They did indeed. And if to create a game properly, you would have to have that SDK. That being said, we have found a couple sites that seem to be doing it. This one here, XOPlay, has a bunch of different games for your iPod. See, iPod game only $14.99.
But these are text-based adventures.
Yeah. Have you ever played a text-based choose-your-own-adventure game?
Yeah, on like TI-83s and stuff.
Yeah, those, not a whole lot of fun going on there with your iPod, It's like... Yeah, iPod Lounge, that's another great site we were going to mention really quickly. iPodLounge.com is a great resource for all things iPod related.
Right.
They have message boards, they have downloads, third-party downloads, articles, you name it.
But nobody's got games for the iPod other than those text games and the ones that are already built in, Devin.
Yeah.
So, to mitigate the sting of the pain of the suffering of not having any new games for you, we'll give you a free Tech TV t-shirt just for, being on Netcam.
Okay, thanks.
Why do I suddenly feel like Leo on the Call for Help set?
That's a cool t-shirt.
Bludgeoned with t-shirts.
Thanks for the call. Stay where you are. Up next, we're going to check our inbox to see what's on your mind when the screensavers continue. Let's take a look at the high scores from each round of our LAN party.
Powered by NVIDIA.
Congratulations to the high scores. CSS Joshua's
back on the board.
Look at that.
We may have Battlefield Vietnam next week, folks.
That's awesome.
Good stuff.
If you didn't get a chance to play this week, go to our website right now and register for the LAN party next Thursday. And a chance to win a PC again.
Yeah,
we got a new little friend with us.
Hey, Parker.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Having fun? Ready to host the show next week?
No.
Kid's smart. Sarah, you got any emails for us?
He also buttered me up. He gave me I asked for a sucker, and he was like, here you go.
I saw Patrick trying to get him to use the sledgehammer.
You ready?
Have you ever used the sledgehammer before?
He's like so not into the
Let me
sledgehammer.
grab the PC. Oh, you don't want to try it? No, you don't want to try it.
It's pretty heavy.
In a couple years.
He's really smart. What do we have on the question pile today, Sarah?
Okay, Raul wants to know, is there any software that will let me remotely control my other computers on my home network? I know you can do it over the internet. Is there any free software I could use in this capacity?
Yes. Well, if you have Windows XP, of course, you have Remote Desktop, which you can do internally for your
Built right into Windows XP.
Built right in, so there's nothing to install. Just check the box.
If you do a search on OSDN or the sourceforge.net, you'll find a bunch of open source projects.
VNC. Tight VNC is the one I really like. You like VNC? Yeah.
Okay. Parker's all about the open source. Choice of a new generation. You want to pay money, you could go to my PC, but you like free stuff that's open. Sarah?
Quick question, where's the $500 gaming PC?
Actually, it's going to be up in 2 weeks. We sort of spaced it out a little bit. We're going to end up for a faster processor and a better graphics card, still keep the price under $500. And I think it's first week in May when that's going to be up, but it's coming soon. We got to go.
You want to read that?
No.
No? That's it for this edition of the Screensavers. I'm Kevin Rose.
And I'm Patrick Norton, and he's Parker. We want to thank you for joining us. We'd like to thank Larry Lessig and Reed Schneider. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great night.
Don't you have homework to do?